Father for a Buddha. The story of King Suddhodana, a narrative as grand as it is profoundly enlightening. A father's affection knows no bounds. From the day his children are born, he embarks on an unwavering quest to forge a path for them so that they can navigate the labyrinth of life. 2.5 millennia ago, we encounter a father who witnessed his son treading a profoundly contrasting but exceptionally noble journey than what he had envisioned for him. This is the remarkable tale of self-realization of one of the most illustrious emperors, none other than the father of Siddhartha Gautama himself, King Suddhodana, unfolds by the hands of Ajantha Seneviratne, Father for a Buddha. The story of King Suddhodana, a narrative as grand as it is profoundly enlightening.
Mahasangha, Excellencies, esteemed guests, literature enthusiasts. A wonderful day, ladies and gentlemen who are present here. Today, we gather here for a very special moment at the Indian Cultural Center for a momentous occasion, if I may correct, the launch of a literature masterpiece that transcends the time and develops the deep into the annals of the history. Father for a Buddha, penned by distinguished author Ajantha Seneviratne, which is a narrative and beckons us to explore the life of a remarkable figure, King Suddhodana, the father of the enlightened Lord Buddha. In this exceptional work, Ajantha Seneviratne weaves a tapestry of history, spirituality, and the enduring bonds in one of a resilience. The father's unwavering devotion to his son and of a journey towards spiritual enlightenment against all odds. Ladies and gentlemen, as we embark on this literature journey, we are privileged to have His Excellency, the Acting High Commissioner of India, and His Excellency, the Ambassador of Thailand of this momentous occasion, a testament to the universal appeal and significance of this tale. Ajantha Seneviratne's narrative pause, coupled with the meticulous research and creative fitness, brings King Suddhodana's character to life and way that is both enlightening and captivating. Through the Father for a Buddha, Ajantha Seneviratne offers us a window into the past, allowing us to witness the transformation of a mundane monarch into a symbol of spiritual attainment. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a narrative that resonates with the theme of love, sacrifice, and the eternal quest for enlightenment. We know for his literary achievements has already left an indelible mark in the world of literature, particularly in Buddhist literature. So with this English novel, he takes a bold step into a new realm, showcasing his versatility and dedication towards storytelling. Ladies and gentlemen, prepare to embark on a literature journey like no other. Father for a Buddha is not just a book, it is an exploration of the human spirit, a testament to the enduring power of love, and a tribute to one of the greatest figures in the history of mankind. Today, we celebrate not only the author's talent, but also the timeless legacy of King Suddhodana, and welcome to the extraordinary book launch where history and literature converge to enrich our souls. Ladies and gentlemen, without a further ado, I would like to respectfully call upon Mr. Ajantha Seneviratne to respect and welcome this most privileged gathering on a more formal note.
Also, His Excellency, the Acting High Commissioner of India, His Excellency, the Ambassador of Thailand, and all other distinguished invitees. 6 years ago, I wrote a Sinhala novel about Rahula Thero. As you are all aware, Prince Rahula, who did not see his father until he was 6 years old, was the son of Prince Siddhartha. One day, at an event, while delivering a speech about this book, Dr. W.A Abeysinghe, who is here with us today, a renowned scholar and well known to all of us, encouraged me to write about the narrative of King Suddhodana, who is Prince Siddhartha's father and a prominent figure in the history of the Buddhist order. Immediately at that event itself, I could feel the setbacks and traumas the King Suddhodana, went through, all because of his boundless and unwavering love for his son. That moment itself, I thought back. I knew by that time King Suddhodana was 45 years old at the time of Prince Siddhartha's birth. He was 74 years old at the time of the great renunciation, or in other words, when Prince Siddhartha left the household. At that age, at the age of 74, one day, all of a sudden, the king realized that his son, who was like his own eyes to him, has vanished and nowhere to be found in the palace or in the kingdom. For 29 years, he did everything possible to prevent this journey. Just think for a second about this father's feelings on that day. From that day on, one by one, he faced numerous setbacks. Of course, those are setbacks from his point of view. I realized it was a life story to work with. But I knew there was another side to this story. I have carefully transformed the character of Suddhodana from a mundane position, culminating step by step into a higher level of spiritual attainment. The text that you see on the back cover finally summarizes how he saw everything that happened during his last few years, especially that was nearing his death. Now this reconstruction is available for you to read, where the father-son relationship is explored, of course, from a different perspective. I have dedicated this book to Dr. W.A Abeysinghe, not only because of his involvement with it, also because of his enormous contribution to Sri Lankan literature. We are so fortunate to have the diplomatic representation of two very important countries, India and Thailand, at the event today. As far as Sri Lankan Buddhist order is concerned, those two countries are so much important for all of us. I am thankful to His Excellency, the Indian High Commissioner, and His Excellency, the Thailand Ambassador, for accepting my invitation and gracing this occasion to receive the first 2 copies of this historic book. Thank you.
Father for a Buddha. The story of King Suddhodana.
Thank you very much, sir, for that formal introduction to the event. I may call upon him as one recognized as one of the top 10 game-changing Sri Lankans of the year, and also was awarded with the Golden Mako Award, awarded by the Mass Communication Association of Sri Lanka, and many more to go. So this book, Father for a Buddha, is just not only a mere book launch, but it will be another addition to Buddhist literature, who all loves reading books, and even 20 plus number of books authored by Ajantha Seneviratne. It will be a novel edition. Lord, a father's love for a son cuts through the skin. Having cut through the skin, it cuts through the flesh. Having cut through the flesh, it cuts through the sinew. Having cut through the sinew, it cuts through the bone. Having cut through the bone, it goes into the marrow and spreads. So, Lord, no one else should suffer like this. Without any further ado, let's move ahead with the presentation of the first two copies of Father for a Buddha. I would like to call upon the esteemed author, the great professional, Mr. Ajantha Seneviratne, to award the first two copies of your book, Father for a Buddha. I would like to call upon Dr. Satyanjal Pandey, His Excellency, the Acting High Commissioner of India, and His Excellency Poj Harnpol, the Ambassador of Thailand. I would like to call upon Dr. W.A Abeysinghe and the Chairman of Sarasavi Publications, Mr. Premasari, to join with this occasion. This book will say how sensitive a father in his affection for his son is evident only when you delve into his life. Unfortunately, not enough has been written about it. The life story of the great King Suddhodana, which stands as a symbol of a father's love for his son, gives such an interpretation. Thank you very much, distinguished guests, His Excellencies, and I would like to call upon Mr. Ajantha Seneviratne to present the book to Most Reverend Dr. Kirinde Assaji Thero. Inviting the professionals who are present here, Professor Rohana Mahalinarachi, the Vice Chancellor of University of Visual and Performing Arts. Sir, please come front to receive the first copy of the book. And Professor Raj Somadeva, the Senior Professor in Archaeology. Professor Kolita Bhanu Disanaika, the Dean of Faculty of Music, University of Visual and Performing Arts. And Professor Upul Ranjit Thevapitanagamaga, the Senior Professor of Hindu Studies, University of Kelaniya. And Professor Ankuran Dutta, the Director of Swami Wiwekananda Cultural Center. Thank you very much. A gentleman says that he was facing with a challenge posed on him to write a foreword to Ajantha Seneviratne's first novel in English, Father for a Buddha. When he was confronted with this challenge of writing about subjects and disciplines, the frontiers of which he is not quite certain, he had an infantile tendency. I would like to call upon Dr. W.A Abeysinghe to the podium to address the gathering.
Reverend Dr. Kirinde Assaji Mahatera, His Excellency the Ambassador of Thailand, and Mr. Ajantha Seneviratne, author of the book, and other distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. In the midst of such a selected, distinguished audience, it is with a sense of great pleasure and pride that I am pleased to make a few observations about the novel Father for a Buddha, authored by the promising bilingual writer Ajantha Seneviratne, whose rise and recognition as a writer I have been carefully following for quite some time. India is a great country which fathered many greats, Gautama Buddha being the greatest of them all. And it was Thailand which generously offered us the high ordination of the Buddhist Sangha during the latter part of the 18th century at the request of Velivita Saranankara Sangaraja, who steered the Buddhist Renaissance at that time. Therefore, it is a great honor to us all to have the esteemed presence of both your excellencies on this occasion. To begin my observations of the book launched today, I must at the outset mention that it is a work of literature, a creative endeavor, though the main character involved therein is a historical personality who fathered Prince Siddhartha, destined to become the enlightened Buddha, the supreme human being of all times. However, King Suddhodana, although a formidable character among the Buddhist laity, very scant attention is paid to him in the Buddhist canonical literature, which is overshadowed by the greatness of the Buddha. As I perused Ajantha's manuscript, it dawned on me that the sole attempt was not to reconstruct the life of the Buddha, but to portray the character of the great monarch Suddhodana in a literary as well as in a historical perspective. According to my little knowledge of the history of classical literature, the first reference I have encountered in the 19th and the 20th stanzas of the Yamaka Vagga, the pairs of the Dhammapada, wherein the term Sahitan Bhasamano occurs twice. Bahumpite Sahitam Bhasamano, Appampite Sahitam Bhasamano. Scholars agree that the word Sahita in this context is a clear reference to the Tripitaka, the Buddhist canonical literature. One cannot challenge the vastness of the reference to the entirety of the Dhamma, wherein Juan Mascaro, in his brilliant rendering into English of the Dhammapada, which he calls the path of perfection, refers to as holy words. To him, Sahita or literature are holy words. Holy words, what else could good literature be? The celebrated Webster International Dictionary defines literature as written works which deal with themes of permanent and universal interest, characterized by creativeness and grace of expression. I earnestly believe that this is a proper definition in which Ajantha Seneviratne's wonderful novel could meticulously be accommodated. As the definition goes, this is a work of literature which deals with the theme of permanent and universal interest. Since the story is web-bound, the monarch Suddhodana, one of the greatest personalities in the history of mankind. Apparently, the author portrays the character of the protagonist, utilizing his faculties of meaningful imagination, and grace of expression is manifest in many instances as the story gradually reaches its climax. When carefully going through Ajantha's manuscript, I was overwhelmed by the wealth of material he has conscientiously collected about the life of King Suddhodana and how beautifully he has reconstructed them into a narrative of rare distinction. As an adept narrator, he collects, selects, sifts, and arranges in proper order the material he has before him pertaining to King Suddhodana's character, and recreates it into a highly readable narrative of artistic acumen, blended, of course, with creativity and skills of fine craftsmanship. And the ultimate outcome is a historical personality immortalized in literature. The cardinal theme the author dwells on in this novel is the love of a father for a son. Really, the love of a great father for a greater son. King Suddhodana, to my mind, is the greatest of all the fathers in the known history of mankind, who experienced that love to the utmost height and resultantly suffered deeply when his son Siddhartha renunciated the household life, renouncing the throne, and when he had to offer his other son Nanda and his only dear grandson Rahula to the Sasana, the Buddhist order. And this is how King Suddhodana's lamentation appears in the Mahavagga Pali in his own words addressed to the Buddha. Putta peman bhante chavin chindati. Chavin chetva chammam chindati. Chamman chetva mansan chindati. Mansan chetva naharun chindati. Naharun chetva attin chindati. Attin chetva attiminjang ahacha tithati. Love for a son, O Lord, cuts the tissue. Having cut the tissue, it cuts the skin. Having cut the skin, it cuts the flesh. Having cut the flesh, it cuts the nerves. Having cut the nerves, it cuts the bones. Having cut the bones, it settles in the marrow. It was that deep pain of mind King Suddhodana suffered at such a ripe age in his life. How beautifully the author has transformed the character of Suddhodana from a mundane position culminating step by step into a higher level of spiritual attainment is fascinating indeed. In this beautiful narrative, as I reach the end of the journey, I must frankly admit that I was on the brink of tears. It was soothingly emotional. And was a real burden to my heart. Any sensitive reader, I believe, who reaches the conclusion of this narrative, I am certain would find his or her eyes welled with tears. Those are not tears of pain or remorse, but of joy at the realization of human greatness, compassion, and above all, selflessness. Out of the religious literatures, if you do not contest my assertion as a misnomer, I'm encouraged to say that the Buddhist literature is the vastest, unfathomable repository of human behavior, which is ever widening towards infinite horizons, even the present day. There is still ample material in the life of the Buddha, his disciples, and many significant historical personalities that figured during the Buddha's time and came into the folds of the Buddhist order. This novel, I believe, should be an eye-opener to all the narrators engaged in the reconstruction of the great personalities of the Buddha era buried under the sands of time. Taking into consideration the fact that the Buddha is the greatest of all times, Ajantha Seneviratne, in his forceful narration, suggests to us that Suddhodana is the greatest of all fathers in the history of mankind. The significance of the literary venture is the superb portrayal of the human bond between a great son and a greater son, between a great father and a greater son. It is my earnest hope that this novel be made available to all the readers across the tiny island of ours, and that it should reach out to a wider readership in the world. And that is why we all should applaud Ajantha's commendable effort, which in fact is a remarkable contribution to the Buddhist literary heritage. Thank you.
Father for a Buddha. The story of King Suddhodana.
Thank you very much, sir, Dr. W.A Abeysinghe. And as I learned through this book, he was the intellectual who planted the very seed to write this book in English. While perusing the pages of this book, I found a small quote: "We cannot change the destiny, O king. If the prince was born for that, it will inevitably happen. Everything does not happen according to destiny. Queen, destiny could be changed with human effort. If this is the destiny, it has inevitably happened. If that is not the destiny, With human effort and courage, a chartered engineer has come into literature, writing 20 plus books and delivering a masterpiece, Father for a Buddha. Now we are moving to one of the most special moments here. It's just a piece of entertainment, but it has a speciality. We're going to listen to some piece of music in Hindi that was the concept and lyrics written by Ajantha Seneviratne, the author of this book, Father for a Buddha, and that is translated to Hindi by Professor Upul Ranjit Theva Vidhana Gamage, the Senior Professor of Hindu Studies of University of Kelaniya. And singing and music from Professor Kolitha Bhanurat Disanaika, the Dean of Faculty of Music, University of Visuals and Performing Arts. Yes, the stage is open for that entertainment item, rather one of the most special momentous occasion that we deal today.
चांद सूरज किस लिए साया भी चल धिया धिया मुड़ के प्यारे का गहरा आदुलार गूंजता है अस्ति मज्जों में गूंजता है अस्ति मज्जों में जलता हूँ मैं दुख की आग में रोता रहता हूँ तन्हाई में पूत प्यार से पूत प्यार से पूत प्यार से शीत पवन में मलय समीरे शीत पवन में ऊष्मा पाऊं कहाँ से सांसें बहती दिल उजाड़ के तेरे बदन को घेरा डाले दिन कर देता कठोर किरणें दिन कर देता कठोर किरणें जाओ कहीं पे ढूंढे सदकर्मों के अमृत बल से भव सागर का पार लगाए भव सागर का पार लगाए भव सागर का पार लगाए.
To proceed with the formalities of today's agenda, I would like to respectfully, with more dignitariously, invite Most Reverend Dr. Kirinde Assaji Thero to address the gathering.
First of all, I would like to thank Mr. Ajantha Seneviratne inviting me to talk on importance of Buddhism and Buddhist literature for the long-standing relationship between India and Sri Lanka. Father for Buddha is a beautifully crafted narrative of King Suddhodana by Ajantha Seneviratne, whom we have had the privilege of associating for a long time. Ajantha may be an engineer by profession, but he is also a talented lyricist and author. He has written many books in the past in Sri Lanka, but his latest project differs from his earlier works. He focuses on an unlikely protagonist in this book, a character that people would hardly focus on to write a book about. But Ajantha undertook the challenge of revealing the character of King Suddhodana, the Buddha's father, a delicate and the serious undertaking as the author reveals the story of the man who was a king and a father to one of the greatest teachers the world has known. Only a talented writer like Ajantha can do justice to the principal character without hurting people's sensitivities. This latest project is interesting because it turns the spotlight away from the Buddha to focus on a man who has been in the background and has been hardly spoken about. But I am sure readers will enjoy learning about Suddhodana and his influence on the future Buddha. I have had the privilege of receiving Ajantha's books before, and having associated him closely for a while, I can bear testament to his skill as a multifaceted writer. His latest book will no doubt receive positive reviews and public acceptance. Interestingly, The Father for the Buddha is about an Indian king written by a Sri Lankan. If not for that day in Poson, when a delegation led by Mahinda Thero preached to a native king who embraced the Buddhist precepts and ensured that the people of this country embraced it after him, Ajantha will not be writing about the Indian king. We often speak a lot about our shared histories, cross-cultural ties, and interactions. As neighbors, we have had good times and bad. We have been friends as well as foes. Through invasions and trade ties, India has stamped its presence in Sri Lanka, and our interactions across the seas have only intensified and never reduced. However, whatever opinions people have about the geopolitics of the Indian Ocean. I believe that Sri Lanka is the greatest beneficiary from our relationship. Buddhism is undoubtedly the greatest gift from India to Sri Lanka. The fact that Emperor Ashoka, one of India's greatest warriors, laid down arms to embrace the redeeming principles of nonviolence and peace, realizing the futility of war, engineered the spread of Buddhism far and wide. Choosing Sri Lanka as a recipient forever changed our destiny. When Buddhism declined in India, Sri Lanka became its greatest defender, and through the countries, her leaders have defended Buddhism against foreign invaders and solidified its status by establishing monasteries and Buddhist universities. Our kings built impressive image houses for the Buddha and have provided a sanctuary for his sacred relics. Therefore, I believe Buddhism is the strongest reason keeping the two countries connected. India is still the home of the Buddha, where to this day thousands of pilgrims from Sri Lanka flock to visit Saranath, Kushinagar and Bodh Gaya, where significant milestone in Buddha's journey to enlightenment happened. India's Buddhist past reverberates in more places like Sravasti, Sanchi and Vaisali. This historical connection keeps our countries forever connected as we explore spirituality together through meditation programs and join endeavors in furthering Buddhist studies. The recipe of peaceful coexistence can be found in Buddhist literature. It tells how leaders should rule and protect their subjects. Greed and hatred destroy relationships and can lead to conflicts and loss of lives. Leaders in office must use wise words so as not to arouse hatred and anger in people. Buddhist teachings have the solution to conflicts and the recipe of healthy relationships. Peace, love, justice, and compassion are central to Buddhism, and our shared identities deem it important that the way forward for us made global tension is to the subscribe to these universal truths. It is a call for mutual respect and maintaining the sanctity of life. Buddhist teachings that will certainly strengthen our relationship going forward. This book is showing us and telling us the background of these all happening things also. May the Triple Gem bless you all. Thank you.
Father for a Buddha. The story of King Suddhodana.
With utmost respect, we extend our sincere and heartfelt gratitude to Most Reverend Dr. Kirinde Assaji Thero. Proceeding forward in the agenda, next I would like to respectfully call upon the Director of Swami Wiwekananda Cultural Center, Professor Ankuran Dutta, to address the gathering.
Most Venerable Dr. Kirinde Assaji Thero, His Excellency, the Ambassador of Royal Embassy of Thailand, Dr. W.A Abeysinghe, the author, Ajantha Seneviratne, Honorable Vice Chancellor of Visual and Performing Arts University, Professor Rohuna Mahila Arachi, Senior Professor Hopul Ranjit Hewa Vitana Gamage, Professor Kolita Bhanu Disanayake, Professor Jagat Ravindra, all distinguished guests. It is a rare occasion for us, and this is very important occasion for us as well. When the proposal came from through Professor Jagat Ravindra and when Ajantha Seneviratne came, I was so happy. And what Venerable Thero has already mentioned, that a Sri Lankan writer wrote about a king of India. And I would like to share here that our heritage, our shared heritage is so long that a Sri Lankan king also wrote about Ramayana in his epic called Janaki Haran. So it is a kind of that this tradition is going on for so long, and as he rightly mentioned that our relationship is not new. Our relationship is so old. If we consider as Kumaradasa, the king of Sri Lanka, who wrote about Janaki Haran, that is an epic that we believe in India, that relationship is 7,000 years old. And if we consider from Lord Buddha, as it is mentioned in the great chronicle Mahavansa, that Lord Buddha visited 3 times to Sri Lanka. And from that angle also, it is more than 2,500 years old relationship we have. In the second chapter, as I remember in great chronicle of Mahavansa, the entire family tree of Lord Buddha is given very nicely and very clearly. I can feel when the author was mentioning about the pain of a father just before renunciation of Lord Buddha. I could just feel that how he tried to depict. Of course, I haven't read the book, but definitely it has lots of pain, not only for Buddha. I hope that you have also mentioned about King Suddhodana's second son Nanda, who also joined in the Sangha. The king, one by one of his entire family, later on joined the Sangha. So his mental condition, definitely it is so nicely portrayed in the song, which is written by you, translated by Professor Hewa Bitana Gamage, and also the music and the singing by Professor Kalita Bhanu Disanayake. It is such a nice presentation on this particular occasion. I am not going to take much of your time. I am not an expert in this, but with my small knowledge and my interest in Buddhism, I would like to read. I have been trying my best, and I found a few books like Walpula Rahula's book, Narada's book. So I would just try to understand the entire scenario. And I was always feel so emotional when very recently I visited Mihintale. And when I reached that particular place, I was just looking at that place, that the continuation of the both relationship, both the countries' relationship, when Arhat Mahinda was staying there in that particular rock, top of the rock in Mihintale, and just tried to communicate with the then king, Debanam Piyatisa. Arhat Mahinda was also a prince of the king of that emperor, which is not the present day's India. It was, we called it as Akhanda Bharat. That is from Afghanistan to the whole Indian, almost Indian subcontinent, or that is the Akhanda Bharat Magad. And his son, the emperor of that kingdom, that empire, came to Sri Lanka with the greatest gift that India ever gave to Sri Lanka, with Buddhism. On this occasion, I would also like to mention this year is the 25th year of Indian Cultural Center in Sri Lanka. 25 years back, in 1998, our former Prime Minister, Atal Bihari Vajpayee, inaugurated the Cultural Center here. So we have a very close relationship, cultural relationship of last 25 years. This year is also 75 years of the diplomatic relationship, of course, of India and Sri Lanka. And at the same time, 100 years of our mission in Kandy. So there are lots of 70, 25, 75 and 100. There are so many things. This year is very, very important for us. And also at the same time, this year has been considered as the India Alumni Year by the Indian Council for Cultural Relations. And I am so happy to see that there are lots of India alumni who are Sri Lankan scholars who studied in India are present here, including Venerable Swami Wiwekananda. So this is a very rare occasion for all of us, and I again, on behalf of the High Commission of India, on behalf of Swami Wiwekananda Cultural Center, on behalf of Indian Council for Cultural Relations and Government of India, I would like to offer my sincere gratitude to, as it was mentioned, the multifaceted bilingual writer, Ajantha Seneviratne, for taking this particular issue as your novel and for the publication of this book, Father of a Buddha. I would really be extremely happy if I can get a translated copy of your earlier single novel on Prince Rahul. So at the same time, and it is a personal request to you, we have a beautiful library in our cultural center. Many of you have already consulted the library of Indian Cultural Center. Kindly donate all your books to the cultural center because it is very, very rich on Indic studies, and more particularly we specialize on the India-Sri Lanka relationship. And that is why these books will be valuable contribution for our library and for our readers too. Again, I would like to sincerely thank and also welcome to Swami Wiwekananda Cultural Center. And you are always welcome to this cultural center. Thank you so much. Bahumastuti.
Father for a Buddha. The story of King Suddhodana.
Thank you very much, sir, Professor Ankuran, for that sincerity and extending your heartfelt wishes. And it was very beautiful to hear the explanations of Lord Buddha, Arahat Mahinda, the relics, that's the stories that we have heard, highlighting this relationship between Sri Lanka and India. It was extremely grateful that to encounter such relationship and to have such contributions. The pleasing and soothing atmosphere here at Swami Wiwekananda Cultural Center bring light to this book launch, Father for a Buddha. Thank you very much, sir. And it's really happy to deal with 25 years of cultural exchange, and it will grow for further years as well. And yes, it will definitely boost and continue the long-standing relationship between India and Sri Lanka. So proceeding forward, ladies and gentlemen, of this esteemed occasion, it is launch of the book, Father for a Buddha. As Professor Ankuran finally mentioned, the multifaceted bilingual author Ajantha Seneviratne, there are many work that he has done to enrich the culture and literature of Sri Lanka. So ladies and gentlemen, there's one more special momentous occasion. I would like to call upon popular and veteran actors Mr. Sanath Gunatilaka and Mr. Douglas Ranasinghe to the stage, to the front. Yes, sir, please come front. And I would like to invite Mr. Ajantha Seneviratne, sir, to launch the book Cyber at this special moment. At one such moment, I was able to surf through the book. I hope there are many in the future when I read the entire book. There were many events that Mr. Ajantha has undergone to find the rich literature related to Lord Buddha and King Suddhodana to enrich his book, Father for a Buddha. It's an easy task for us to read. Yes, we have to read. We have to learn from these books. And at the same time, we have to appreciate the hard work and commitment of such dedicated authors. So thank you very much to Mr. Ajantha Seneviratne. If I am reading his profile, he has many capacities that he has dealt with. Yes, but finally, today, we understand him as the great author who tributed for the book, Father for a Buddha. Ladies and gentlemen, it comes to the end of this book launch, the story of King Suddhodana. As always, I say, Father for a Buddha. So you can read with. There's rich pages of literature that even at the short time I was able to surf through the book and got some stuff to compare today's event. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for being here. Mahasangha, Reverend Dr. Kirinde, Assaji, Thero, we heartfeltly, most gratitudely thank you for your presence, Reverend Sir, and all the participants today. His Excellency, the Acting High Commissioner of India, Dr. Satyanjal Pandey, was not present here, but present initially. We thank you, Sir, and Excellency Poj Harnpol, the Ambassador of Thailand. Thank you very much, Sir. At the initial set, you were inquiring about the rich pieces of literature that India and Sri Lanka was dealing with. It's the Swami Wiwekananda Cultural Center that we have implanted today's event. And also, I would like to thank Dr. W.A Abeysinghe. Thank you very much, sir, for being here. And as we all are now aware that you were the intellectual who planted the very seed to write this book. And Mr. Premasiri, the chairman of Sarasavi Publications. Authors can make their work, but it's very great, really appreciated that Sarasavi has donated, Sarasavi has contributed to the success of this work. And also, I would like to mention the Vice Chancellor of University of Visuals and Performing Arts, Professor Rohan Mahalina Arachi, and Professor Raj Somadeva, the Senior Professor in Archaeology, Professor Kaulitha Bahanudisanaika, the Dean, Faculty of Music, University of Visuals and Performing Art. Yes, we were able to listen to that beautiful piece of music. And Professor Upul Ranjit Theva Vitharanagamage, the Senior Professor, Hindu Studies, University of Kelaniya. Yes, we have seen Hindi films, but it's a rich translation of Hindi, the lyrics and the words written by Mr. Ajantha Seneviratne. It was really commendable, and it's really a great opportunity, and it was a privilege for us to listen to such a piece of music. And the director of Swami Wiwekananda Cultural Center, Professor Ankuran Dutta, thank you very much, sir, for being here and contributing your valuable time to the success of this event and enlightening the rich understanding between Sri Lanka and India. Also, I would like to thank all the personalities who are present here, especially Mr. Sanath Gunatilaka and Mr. Douglas Ranasinghe, all the other intellectuals, media personalities, event coordinators, and esteemed ladies and gentlemen who are present here, who came here today, spending your valuable time. It's not just attending another event. It's not just attending another book launch. It's a moment that I would like to explain as a moment that we have marked some sort of an importance in the history of Sri Lanka, and even we can cite as a particular point that we understood the understanding between Sri Lanka and India. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. So thank you very much for attending today's event. And finally, adding a personal note, thank you very much, sir, Mr. Ajantha Seneviratne, for contributing to these rich pieces of literature. Thank you very much.
Father for a Buddha. The story of King Suddhodana, a narrative as grand as it is profoundly enlightening.